Well, I did it, guys. I did the Oppenheimer and Barbie double feature. And after nearly 6 hours at the theater, was it worth it? I wish I could say the answer was yes, but if I'm being honest, you only need to see one of these movies, and it isn't the one that made more money at the box office opening weekend. I saw Oppenheimer first, so that's what we're going to review today, and to be honest, I don't even feel like talking about Barbie, so let's drop right in and talk about Oppenheimer. I'm going to try to keep this spoiler free because Oppenheimer is obviously pretty good. But what is this movie about? Well, sure, it's about the creation of the atomic bomb, but that's only about half the movie. It's also a deep character piece on J. Robert Oppenheimer the person, and the after effects of the creation of the bomb. Nolan does a good job of presenting the internal conflict that Oppenheimer must have felt. How does it feel to be responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people, many of them innocent civilians that had nothing to do with the war? Even though he wasn't the one that dropped the bomb, he did create it, and that's a huge weight on the conscience. And Nolan does a good job of driving this home. The second half of this movie focuses heavily on the Oppenheimer security hearings. I don't want to spoil anything in this, but if you know about Oppenheimer, you know what happens. But to the people that don't know about him, this will give you a good look into that. So what do I like in this movie? Christopher Nolan is an artiste, and this movie is no different. If you aren't a fan of his style, I don't think this movie is going to change your mind on him. But if you're like me, and you do like his style, this movie is exactly what you want out of him. The editing definitely does help this movie feel a lot shorter than it is. But with that said, in the first hour or so, there's a ton of cuts. It looks like me trying to edit to avoid copyright. They don't really linger too long on many shots, and if people ripped on Bohemian Rhapsody, it's a little hypocritical to not criticize the editing at points in this movie. With that said, the editing in hours 2 and 3 is definitely a lot more focused and easier on the eyes, and from there the movie looks great. However, there's this amazing scene while he's giving a speech after they drop the bombs, and the way it's edited with the sound design, it's arguably more tense than the actual dropping of the bomb. It's a little spooky. If you've seen Tar, you'll get what I'm saying. If you haven't seen Tar, go watch that after you see Oppenheimer. That's also a banger. And obviously the sound design of this movie is absolutely amazing, but at times the actual mixing leaves a little bit to be desired. This was an issue in Tenet, and it's still an issue in this movie. At times the background music drowns out the dialogue, and I definitely missed some lines in here, but I think that's a minor complaint when looking at the movie as a whole. Otherwise, the movie sounds amazing, and if your theater has Dolby, I would actually recommend that over IMAX if you're going for sound. The screen quality is still good, and has a far superior sound system to IMAX. And I'm sure you guys have seen the memes, but this movie has literally everybody in it. I'm not going to list out the whole cast, but obviously Cillian Murphy is in contention for Best Actor for his portrayal of Oppenheimer, but Robert Downey Jr. will be in the running for Best Supporting Actor for his portrayal of Louis Strauss. And there's other cameos that made me smile. People like Devin Bostick, who played Roderick in the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series, and Josh Peck from Drake and Josh.
I just taught you a lesson in the evils of gambling. Evil!
The only flaw of this movie is surprisingly the length. And this is one of the only times I'm going to say this, but the movie wasn't long enough. The first half is expertly paced, but when we get to the second half, we get a little more telling than showing. The characters will talk about things that have happened that we don't get to see, and that just comes down to the movie having to make creative choices of what to actually show in order to fit into the 3-hour runtime. It's hard to pin that on Nolan, because unfortunately the modern audience doesn't like 3.5 to 4 hour films, but this is one of the few films that would have justified the runtime. I was never bored while watching the movie, but with that said, I did actually want to see some of the things that they mentioned, even if it meant a longer movie. But I'm a big fan of Christopher Nolan, and this movie didn't disappoint me whatsoever. Is it my favorite Christopher Nolan film? No. But after some reflection, it did end up slotting into my top 4, and it is the best movie I've seen all year. So with that, let's give Oppenheimer a 9 out of 10. And that about wraps up this video. Leave a comment down below giving your thoughts on what video you might want to see next. This has been the MeloTime Movie Hour. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Go ahead, hit that like button and subscribe.
Drake? What? Where's the door hole?
Goes right there. See, I drew it with a magic marker.
You were supposed to cut it out with the power saw.
Dude, I'm gonna.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So go get the power saw.
Okay, I will.
4, 3, 2, 1.
I see the problem.
Oh, do ya?